Thank you so much for joining us. Myself, John LeClaire, I'm here with Bob Circosta, who I'll introduce in just a minute. I would love for you, if you're on the webinar, if you have any issues with audio or any kind of controls that you're having problems with, there's a chat box that you can use. It should be on the right side of your screen. Go ahead and enter in any problems or questions that you might have. And that goes for also if you have questions specifically. Once we get into this training, Bob is going to teach most of it. Again, I'll introduce him in just a second. But if you have any questions that I can answer while he's talking, Bob and I have worked together for years. I'll go ahead and handle those in the chat while he's talking. And also at the end, we'll hold a Q&A session. So any questions you feel like you want to share, either just directly with us via chat or with the group, we can do that at the end as well. So I'll do a quick introduction just so you know who I am, of course, who Bob is. Again, thanks for coming. This is a training on how to get your product onto HSN or QVC or really any live television shopping channel. So myself, John LeClaire, I'm the founder of OxyClean. That's where I came from. Of course, I'll tell that background in a second, but of Harvest Growth. So I started my company about 8 years ago when I used to work for OxyClean. I managed their product launches for many years. Brought them into fruition, onto TV, into retail stores, etc., and really with an infomercial strategy. And then I launched this company when OxyClean was sold off several years ago for $325 million. Not a bad sale. And what I've done since then through Harvest Growth is help hundreds of clients use the same strategies we used at OxyClean to generate sales, to bring themselves onto TV and into retail. And I'll share some of those strategies as you'll see through emails, etc. after this training. But tonight's training, I want to talk about live television shopping. And interestingly enough, that's how OxyClean got started. They were on HSN before they ever did infomercials and before they had any major retail distribution. It all started with the Home Shopping Network years ago. And tonight we have a special guest with us, Bob Circosta. Let me tell you a little bit about Bob. If you're not familiar with him, if you're familiar with Home Shopping Network, you're certainly familiar with Bob's fruits from his labors that he's done. Bob sold the very first product on the Home Shopping Network. It had a different name back then, but 37 years ago when it was a radio station. Since then, Bob has had over 75,000 separate product presentations on live television shopping, primarily through HSN, of course. In that, he's had over 25,000 hours of live television shopping experience. Now, if you're a Malcolm Gladwell fan, you know that anytime you reach 10,000 hours of something, you become a genius in that effort. So Bob is 2.5 times that on HSN, and truly nobody has the same level of experience that Bob Circosta does. And we're grateful to have him here tonight. He's sold over $1 billion worth of sales, of revenues from products on HSN himself, and his clients have generated over $10 billion in sales. So Bob, welcome tonight. Thank you so much for joining us and helping us to understand how to get our products onto HSN.
Well, first of all, my good friend John LeClaire, thank you so much for those kind words. And always a pleasure to be with you. And I just want to echo your sentiments in welcoming everybody on this particular webinar. And I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us. We're going to go through lots of information on this particular webinar. I hope you have a pencil and paper handy. We're going to be able to give you lots of information, but the goal is not to overwhelm you. The goal is to give you as much information as we possibly can on how you can take your product and get it on a TV shopping channel. So we're going to go through that information. John mentioned I've been able to be in this business for 37 years, the past 37, and they're on day one. So I'm very proud to say that I've been in the TV shopping business longer than anybody. But one thing that I've learned over the past 37 years is that no matter where you are marketing what you have to have two keys. You have to have both of these keys in order to successfully market what you have anywhere, anything, it does not matter. And both of these keys happen to be presentation and distribution. You have to be focused right on your presentation and your distribution. First, let's talk about presentation. Well, what do we mean by presentation? Well, that happens to be your message. It is your mission, so to speak. In other words, it is your pitch. You've got to have the right message, a message that creates the need for what you have. And to really zoom in and focus in on that message is of paramount importance. That's the presentation part. The distribution, that happens to answer the question, where are you going to market what you have? In other words, who is your customer? Who is your market? And you have to clearly identify who that market is in order to maximize your sales. So you have to have both of these elements. You have to have the right message, you have to have the right pitch, and you also have to have the right distribution. Because if you have the right message, but you're in front of the wrong people, you're never going to get the response to the degree that you would like. And on the other hand, if you are in front of the right people and you're in the right market, but you don't have the right message, then obviously you're not going to get the return that way either. So that's why I say you need to combine both of those. Make sure, so check back on your product, your service, your business, your idea, whatever it might be, and just check and see, how do you have those bases covered? How are you on your message? How are you in your presentation? And how about your distribution? Now, we're going to focus on this webinar here tonight on the big D, the distribution. And without a doubt, the most powerful words in marketing happen to be as seen on TV. As seen on TV. We have all seen this logo. We walk into various retail stores nowadays, and we can see sections, product sections, that are solely designed and focused on as seen on TV products, because those words are powerful. And by the way, you know what? Anybody could use this logo. I mean, you have to have your product on TV in order to qualify, of course, but once your product is on TV, the logo is not trademarked. A lot of people happen to think it is, but it is not. And there are various forms of this logo that can be utilized. But once again, you have to have your product on TV in order to advertise that it's as seen on TV. So, you know, the quicker that you can get that branding, the quicker that you can be able to label what you have as seen on TV, the better off you're going to be in getting results for your particular product. Now, when it comes to as seen on TV, when it comes to TV marketing, it all falls under one umbrella, which is called direct response. And that is a huge umbrella, because underneath the direct response umbrella happens to be direct response, whether it's in radio, whether it's in TV, whether it's in print, magazines, newspapers, things of that nature. The very let's see, what I want to say is, when trying to define what direct response is in a general way, a very simplistic definition of direct response would be when you are able to directly offer what you have to the consumer and they can directly respond back to you. Now, once again, that's a very simplistic definition, but that basically sums it up. So let's go inside that direct response and let's take a look at television infomercials. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, television is part of direct response. And within the category of television, you have television infomercials. Now, we've all seen television infomercials from time to time, and my good partner, John LeClaire, is a leader in the television infomercial business and has been for quite a while. So television infomercials, and when you look into infomercials, there are two types of those. One is called the long form, which is a 30-minute variety. That's the one when we can't sleep at night, we get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and we turn on the TV and we see it, you know, the different types of infos that are out there. There's also a short form, and that is a 2-minute spot. So the long form and the short form would both fall under the category of television infomercials. But when it comes to direct response, there's another fascinating category, which I'm kind of partial to, and it's called TV shopping channels. TV shopping channels. And there are lots of those nowadays all over, not just this country, but throughout the world. But it wasn't that way because I had the very good blessing 37 years ago to be there at the beginning of this industry. I was able to help see something created that never existed before called TV shopping. And believe it or not, TV shopping, the TV shopping channels now generate in this country over $12 billion in sales. That's just here in the United States. $12 billion industry. And I'm sure that you would like to have a piece of that industry, or you wouldn't be on this webinar here tonight. And what I'm about to tell you is that you can have a piece of this industry if you know how to navigate through it, and if you have, as with any industry, if you know how to create it, know how to get involved in it, you're going to be able to do it. The TV shopping channels, the entire industry started many, many years ago, and many people are surprised that the entire TV shopping industry actually started on a small radio station. That's right, the TV shopping industry, it had its roots on a very small radio station in Clearwater, Florida. It was called WWQT 1470 on your AM dial, once again in Clearwater, Florida. Now, this radio station had nothing to do with selling merchandise. It was a news talk formatted radio station. And I had a talk show on the air every day from noon to 3. And we did on my talk show what they do on all talk shows. We talked about politics and what was happening in the world, what was going on. It had nothing to do with selling merchandise. What you have to understand in order to really understand this story is that this was possibly one of the world's worst radio stations. And because it was such a lowly rated radio station, we didn't have very many listeners. And when you don't have a lot of listeners, you therefore don't have a lot of advertisements. And it's difficult to stay on the air if you don't have advertisements. But the owner of the radio station, a gentleman by the name of Bud Paxson, Bud would go around town and he would knock on business store after business store, and he would sell a few advertising contracts here and there. But once again, it was a challenge. And one time he sold a 13-week advertising contract to an appliance store in Clearwater. And so for 13 weeks on the talk show, we advertised the appliance store. And at the end of that 13-week cycle, Bud went into the appliance store to collect on the bill. And the guy who owned the appliance store was furious with Bud. And Bud said, "What's the problem?" And the guy who owned the store said, "You know what? Not one person has come in here and said that they heard my commercial on the radio at all. Not one person's come in." And the guy finally said to Bud, "You know what? Since I didn't get a result, I'm not going to pay you." Well, Bud, at this point, said, "Wait a minute, that's not how this works. We had a deal." They went back and forth, back and forth. The long story short, the guy who owned the store said to Bud, "I tell you what I'll do. Instead of paying you in cash, I will give you a box of merchandise. So take a box of merchandise." And that's what Bud did. By this time, he was so frustrated. I think he was, starting to feel a little bit better just leaving with something. So he picked up the box of merchandise, got in the car, drove back to the radio station. And meanwhile, I'm on the radio doing my talk show. And every hour of the talk show, there was like a 5-minute news break where they do the local news and weather. And I was taking a break, sitting in the booth, and the door opened up, and in walked Bud. Now, Bud's about 6'7", and when Bud comes in the door, you know he's in that room. And he was holding in his hands this electric can opener. And here's a look at it right here. It's one of those avocado green. It was an ugly electric can opener. And Bud said to me, "Bob, when you come out of the news, I want you to sell this can opener." And I looked at him like he had 3 heads. I said, "Do you want me to do what?" He said, "I want you to sell this can opener." I said, "Sell? You've got to be," I remember saying to him, "You want me to sell something? Wait a minute, I'm a newsman. I have morals and ethics. I don't want to sell something." And then he proceeded to tell me that he'd give me $1 for each can opener that we sold. And instantly, that can opener looked pretty good. And so I came on after the break, and I said, "Folks, we'll get back to our topic in just a moment, but you'll never believe what happened during the last break." And I recounted the whole story, and I started describing the can opener. And I said, "If you call me up right now and reserve a can opener, come on down to the radio station and pay for it. It's yours." And pretty soon the telephone lines, they started to light up. In fact, I didn't know what those lights were because nobody had ever called me before on the show. And on that day was August 28th, 1977, we sold 112 electric can openers. And that was the beginning of what we know today as the entire TV shopping industry that started on radio. And we continued on radio for 5 years, and it was called at that time the International Suncoast Bargainers Club. That's what it was called way back when. And then they wired the county for something called cable. And way back then, cable TV had nothing to do with programming. Cable only was designed to help the reception of the existing stations. So they had all these available channels, and nobody was using them. Nobody wanted to use them. And we went into the local cable company and we said, we'd like to lease a channel. And they said, you would? And I mean, you would? and we said, yes. And they said, what do you want to do? And we said, well, we want to sell products on TV. And they kind of laughed at us and said, really? Well, sure, we'll lease you a channel. And that's what they did. So it became, in 1985 or 1982, it became the Home Shopping Club. And then it went to the Home Shopping Channel, and then the Home Shopping Network. And it was doing just great locally. It was generating, hundreds of thousands of dollars every single week. And then in 1985, we said, wait a minute, this is working so well locally, it's got to work across the country. It's got to work coast to coast. And so we bought time on the Galaxy satellite, and we went up there for 5 hours, and on July 1st, 1985, and we started to sell products. And that was when TV really hit nationwide. In fact, I have a picture of the original script. That's the original script that was used in 1985. I typed it up on a typewriter. I don't even know, do they make typewriters anymore? But I typed it up, and then Bud went back in and he, made the different changes to it. But that was the original script in 1985. And once again, it was, and you can see the picture on your screen right now, it was kind of crude looking. It was, but it got the job done. It really, really generated sales. And in the early 90s, we did $1 billion worth of merchandise in 1 year. And as they say, the rest is history, so to speak. But it was the Home Shopping Club. It was the Home Shopping Network. My whole point here, my friends, is that the home shopping industry is powerful. If you want to get your product out to the masses, TV shopping is the way to go. There is no doubt about that. You are going to be seen by the most amount of people at the very same time. You can't be seen by any greater amount of people at the same instant than to be on a TV shopping channel. And years ago, it used to be like little trinkets and gadgets and things of that nature. But the home shopping industry has evolved over the years. And now practically any type of product can be marketed this way because the public is very, very comfortable in shopping this way. They have the confidence. And TV shopping channels are all over the world now. I mean, if you pick a country, whether Germany, China, Italy, Australia, Japan, the UK, you pick a country anywhere in the world, and chances are that that country will have its own TV shopping channel. So, a lot of people talk about going global. This is real. And what's the benefit of knowing this is the fact that if you get on one of the domestic channels, all the domestic channels are in some way affiliated and related to the international channels. So if you get on one of the domestic channels, it's not all that far of a reach and a stretch to be able to get on an international TV shopping channel. Now, granted, there are different cultures out there that have different requirements when it comes to packaging and things like that. But, it's safe to say that if you want to get your product seen all around the world, TV shopping is a great way to do that. So can your product be marketed on a TV shopping channel? That's the big question. You know what you have, but maybe you're sitting there with an idea tonight too, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with an idea. All great products start with an idea. So whether you have a tangible product or whether you have an idea, I hope this information will help you here this evening. But here's the question. Can your product be marketed on a TV shopping channel? I'm going to give everybody a test. I hope you have a pencil and paper handy. I'm going to ask you 8 questions about your product, your service, your business, your idea. And if you can answer yes to any 3 of these 8 questions, chances are you've got something that has the potential to be marketed on a TV shopping channel. So pencil and paper ready? You're ready to go? In your mind, think of your product. Think of that service that you offer. It could be turned into a product. Think of that business that you have. How could you really advertise the business and productize the business? Now, if you have an idea, you don't have anything finished yet, for the sake of this exercise, I want you to think of your idea being a finished product, okay? So here are 8 questions. Number 1, what do you have? Your product, your service, your business, your idea. Is it demonstrable? In other words, can you demonstrate what you have? The TV shopping industry is a visual medium, obviously. So it has the ability to be able to bring to life what you have. Can you demonstrate what you have? And when I talk about a demonstration, here's another simplistic definition of what a demonstration is. If you have a dirty floor and then you apply a product and you sweep it and the floor is clean, that's a demonstration, right? We've all seen demonstrations with skincare products where the appearance of the wrinkles happens to be there, and then you apply the product and the appearance happens to be diminished of the lines and wrinkles. So can you bring your, whatever it is that you have, can you bring it to life? Can you demonstrate what it is that you have? Yes or no? Number 2, what you have, does it result in what's called instant gratification? Instant gratification. Or does it take somebody 10 months or a year in order to respond? That's not going to work in the TV shopping industry. Instant gratification. That is a primary piece of criteria for a product to be able to succeed on any of the TV shopping channels. And by the way, we're not talking about any specific TV shopping channel. We're talking about the industry as a whole. Here's number 3. Does what you have, does it appeal to an impulse? To an impulse. All right? What you have to understand is that if you have to take a long time to tell the story of what you have, the TV shopping channels don't have a lot of time. They have a rating system within the industry that's called DPM. DPM. That stands for dollars per minute. You have to be able to get the message out, get the calls coming in, and get the dollars to be generated within a particular time frame. So time is very, very critical. So what you have, does it appeal to an impulse? Or does somebody have to really give it a lot of thought, deep thought and consideration before they respond? Here's number 4. Is what you have, does it solve a problem? This is huge, folks, okay? People come to me all the time and they say, Bob, I've got this idea. What do you think? Will it work? And my question is, okay, well, tell me the problem that your idea is solving. And if you can't do that in a clear way, then you've got a problem, all right? So you've got to be able to solve problems with what you have. Every product that's out there solves a problem. So you've got to make sure that you are clearly communicating what that problem is that you're solving. So take a look, think about what you have. Does it solve a problem? Number 5, does what you have create an emotional need? Is there a connection, an emotional connection? I don't mean emotional like people crying. That's not the kind of emotion that I mean. But is there a way to create the need for your product through an emotional connection? When I teach people how to, create their product, get their product ready and everything, I really go deep into the emotional need, how to create that. So you're going to be able to do that no matter how you're answering that question right now. Here's number 6. Is what you have, is it easy to use and understand? Is it easy to use and understand? Now, that might seem rather simple, right? But once again, it comes back to that element of time. See, believe it or not, the goal on a TV shopping channel is not to sell out. Let me say that again. The goal is not to sell out. Everybody thinks they got to sell out. You don't. That's not the goal, to sell out. The goal is to sell the most amount of product in the least amount of time. It's all about time. You've got to make sure that that message, what you're communicating about your product, is easy to use and easy to understand. Number 7, does it make one's life easier? Does it make one's life easier? Here's what I mean by that. If you're asking somebody to use whatever it is you have, and for them to utilize it, they have to go way outside their comfort zone, you're going to have some challenges. So you need to make sure that it fits within the lifestyle that people have, okay? So does it make one's life easier? How's somebody going to benefit from what you have? And here's number 8, is what you have, does it have mass appeal? Mass appeal. Now, if what you have does not have mass appeal, then what you have would be called a niche product. And there's nothing wrong with a niche product as long as you know where your niche is. But the TV shopping channels go into around 100 million TV homes in this country. So you can't come on the air and just have 5 of something or 10 of something. You have to have something that appeals to the masses. All right? Now, I'll get to that in a little bit later, quantity and things like that, because that's another myth out there. A lot of people think you got to have 20,000 of something in order to get on a TV shopping channel, and that's not the case. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So what you have, does it appeal to the masses? Is it universally understood by the masses what you have? So there are 8 questions. Once again, how many questions did you answer yes? If you answered yes to 3 or more, then we got to talk more, because you've got something that really has the potential to be on one of the TV shopping channels. So let's get right down to it, the process that you got to go through. And once again, I need to keep this as general as possible, because every shopping channel, they have their little differences. So I'm going to keep the information as general, but I will be specific when I can be, okay, about this. But how to get a product on a TV shopping channel, and of course we're talking about HSN, which is out of St. Petersburg, Florida. QVC is out of Westchester, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. ShopHQ used to be Shop NBC. They're out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, but they recently changed their name and branding and everything, and management, as a matter of fact. And they're now called ShopHQ. There are a lot of other little ones around the country, but those are the 3 major. There's also one, Jewelry Television, that's out there. So you can find a bunch of other ones, but these are the 3 major players that we're talking about. So let's talk about the process, all right? The first thing that you have to do is you've got to have a finished product. The TV shopping channels don't want to see prototypes or hear about ideas or anything like that. So you got to have a finished product, and you have to submit it to the appropriate buyer at the TV shopping channel. And it might even be a team of buyers in the merchandise department that are involved. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, Bob, what's a TV shopping channel like? And the best way that I know how to answer that and describe that is, if you think of a retail operation, like a Macy's or a Nordstrom's or any of the big stores, what do you think about? What makes that work? Well, they have buyers, and they have this department, that department, right? Okay. So now think for a moment about a TV network, a television network. What do they have that makes it possible? They have cameras and studios and producers and directors. If you take those 2 entities and put them together, you will come up with what a TV shopping channel is like. It includes all of the retail keys and pieces, and it combines it with the television. So if there are buyers at each one of the TV shopping channels that are assigned to specific product categories. So once you understand what the product category is that you're in, whether it be a home type product or whether it be a beauty type or a wellness type, or the list goes on and on and on, then you find out who the buyer is for that particular category. So You need to submit your finished product to that buyer. Now, here's something that's of paramount importance, and this is a place where people kind of fall through the cracks, so to speak, okay? Before you have your meeting, you have to establish the price that you're going to sell your product to the TV shopping channel. What's the price? What is the price that you want them to pay you per unit? You have to be able to have that. You can't just walk in there and say, okay, how much you're going to give me for this product? That's not the way it works. They have margins. They have certain classifications that they have to meet and the requirements that they have to uphold. And you need to know, how are you going to make money in this, right? You can't make money selling your product if you don't know what the establishment of the price is at the beginning. So how do you do this? How do you establish the price that you're going to sell your product to the TV shopping channel for? So here's what I want you to consider. When you're thinking about coming up with that price that you're going to tell the buyer for your product, what are some of those keys that you've got to think about? First of all, you've got to think about the actual cost of goods. What does it cost to make that product? The actual cost of goods. You also have to think about something that's called a pack out. And this is something a lot of people forget about. What is a pack out? A pack out is once your product is in a warehouse and it is put into a box or the styrofoam peanuts are put in, it's packed out. All right? It comes there in the packaging and then it has to be put into a box. And usually a rule of thumb for any warehouse is that every time they have to touch your product, it costs 10 cents. Usually. That's standard. Once again, that's general. All right? Don't hold me to any of these specific numbers because it will all vary. But you've got to consider the pack out. Why? Because if you don't, that's a cost that you're going to have to come out of your pocket for. It's going to cut into your profit. And if you don't think about this at the beginning, you're going to end up not making any money. And you don't want to do that. You want to make money from this. So the actual cost of goods, the cost of the pack out, if you're going to have somebody go on the air and be the spokesperson for the product, you have to factor in what that's going to cost. And that will vary depending upon how good the person is. The better they are, the more money they're going to charge. And it depends upon the channel they're on, things of that nature. Here's another consideration. If you're going to use a product rep, and there are many, many reputable product reps out there. These are people that take products into the TV shopping channel. These are the people that present your product to the buyer. Well, in turn for that, they get a percentage of the cost and everything. So you got to factor what you're going to pay them. All right. So product reps are great. Here's the way to really define if it's a product rep that you want to work with. If you're talking to somebody about they want to take your product into an HSN, a QVC, a ShopHQ, no matter what, the question you need to ask them is, what products do you have on the air right now? Not what products you had on the air a month ago or 2 months ago, but what products do you have on the air right now? And the reason I say that way is because the TV shopping industry moves so quickly, it changes so fast, that buyers change, and this changes, that changes, that if you don't have somebody that's navigating through the internal process on a regular basis, then you're going to be spinning your wheels, and you don't want to do that. So simply ask the person, if they're going to take your product in and be your rep, simply ask them what products do they have on the air right now at the present time. So these are things that you got to take into consideration when you're trying to come up with that end price about what you're going to tell the buyer. Okay, here's an example. I did this as an example to kind of break it down so you could see how this could work for you. The product, as an example, is the electric toothbrush. Let's say the retail price is $19.95. That's the price that the viewer will pay for the product. The wholesale of that, and we're using Keystone right here, and it will vary depending upon the product category, but let's say it's $10, all right? That's the wholesale. So in other words, for each unit that the TV shopping channel orders from you, they're going to pay you $10 per unit. Well, out of that $10 that you're going to get. You have to take out you got to back out all of those costs that I just talked about in order to come up with your profit. If you don't do that, you're not making money. So you got to take, let's say for this toothbrush, the actual cost of goods, the cost of goods to have it made, $2. And that included the shipping and all of that kind of stuff. The pack out was $1. The cost for the spokesperson was 5% of the on-air price, so another $1. And for a percentage to a product, it would be a 10 to 15% generally of the wholesale price. So that's another $1, okay? So your total cost of goods wasn't $2. And one might think, well, yeah, that was my cost of goods. That's what it cost to make the product was $2. No. Yet with everything else, it was $5. The TV shopping channel on-air price was $19.95. The channel paid you $10 for each unit. So your profit after you backed out your total cost of goods was $5. See how that works? Okay, total cost of goods, $5. The viewer got paid $19.95 to buy the product. The channel paid you $10. They kept the rest as their profit. And then your profit was $5. Now you might be thinking, well, $5, I'm not making too much on this. You have to think of what I called years ago velocity selling. Okay? We're not talking about selling 100 or 200 or 500. We're talking about selling 10,000 or even more. So you do the math, and $5 profit and selling 10,000 is not too bad at all. So the next step that you take after you understand what your final price is going to be, now you become a vendor. Okay? And you can become a vendor by contacting the TV shopping channels. You can go on their homepage, on their .coms, and they have all the paperwork that you can fill out if you want to. And communication is the key. You fill out what they call a spec sheet. Once again, all this information is not designed to overwhelm you, but I want to give you as much as I possibly can while you're on the webinar here. But you fill out a spec sheet, and that's a description of the item, and that includes the claims that you want to make, what you want to say about your product, and everything like that. Also have the packaging and the shipping information. That's all coordinated. Where are they going to pick up the product? Where's your warehouse? All of this is done, you know, at the same time. You submit all of your quality assurance. Now keep in mind, when they decide that they want your product on the air, they don't say, okay, Joe, we want your product, we'll talk to you in a couple of months. No. You're assigned somebody from the merchandising department that basically holds your hand and takes you through the process. And if things aren't working, if they're not getting the information that they need to get, then they're going to contact you right away. Now, once you've been approved by QA, quality assurance, and they make sure the product is what it's supposed to be, all right, they protect the consumer, which is the right way to do it. After that, you're going to receive what's called a purchase order. That's your purchase order. And it gives you all the information about how many units they're ordering, what they're going to pay per unit, when the shipping is supposed to be picked up. All the information that you need at that point will be given to you by the TV shopping channel. And I heartily recommend that if you want to save a lot of headache and if you want to save a lot of money, work with a warehouse that's used to working with the TV shopping channels. It'll save you a tremendous amount of time and money, believe me. So, and we, John and I both know the different warehouses that do that. If we can help you out, we're more than happy to do that. So anyhow, so you got your purchase order. You want to send your purchase order to your warehouse, and they'll know what to do after that to get the shipment ready. Now you're waiting for your on-air time, and the network determines that. The TV shopping network, they determine when you're going on, how long you're going to be on. You don't have anything to say about that. That is entirely up to them. Typically, generally speaking, you are scheduled for multiple airings over a couple of days. So there's one time and say that's it. They want to give you a fair shake and a good chance. All right, but they know the channels are filled with very, very advanced. They have the technology, they have the information, they know the history, and they know if it's going to work or not. While you're waiting and getting all this information, you got to prepare. You got to get your pitch ready. You have to get your presentation ready. You have to design your demos if you're going to do demos in your presentation. You have to get all of your before and after pictures, what is called the support. You've got to get all that. But once again, the channel is constantly asking you for this information. They're not just assuming that you're going to know what's needed. Not at all. They're going to and they do this process day in and day out. They do it every single day. I'm making it sound a lot more difficult than it is, okay? They know exactly what you need to know and how to help you. So now your big day arrives, and you're going to go to the location of where the network is that you're on. And again, if it's HSN, you're going to come to St. Petersburg, Florida. QVC, you're going to go right outside of Philadelphia. And ShopNBC, you're going to go up to Minneapolis. So you're going to go there. I always recommend you bring samples of your product with you. They will ask you to send them in previously, but it's always a good idea to bring some along with you. Then it's showtime. It's ready to go. You're assigned different hours that you're going to be on. Now, depending upon your product and your category of product, you're going to be scheduled for different meetings before you even go on the air. If you have a product that falls into the legal category, in other words, a product where you're making claims, medical or health claims, you're going to, chances are, you're going to meet with the legal department at the network, and they're going to let you know what you can say, what you can't say. So they're going to work with you on that. You'll go through a guest orientation program in each one of the networks. Well, they'll take you through the studios to familiarize yourself with the cameras and the studios and all of the technology and everything. You'll then meet the host that you're going to be on. Before you go on the air, you'll meet with the host that you're going to be with. You'll meet with the producer, so they all know what you're going to be doing. So it's all very well coordinated. I know it sounds like it's a tremendous amount and it's all over the place, but it isn't. Each one of the networks, they have it down to a science. Now, if you don't happen to sell all of your merchandise, what happens? This is an often asked question. You know, Bob, I sent them 500 units, or sent them 1,000 units. We sold 500. What happens to the other 500 that we didn't sell? Well, there are many, many variables to that answer. And it just depends if a network purchases what you have on consignment or if they're buying your inventory. And that will vary depending on product category and things in a history and things of that nature. So if they took your product in on consignment and they took in 1,000 units and you sold 500 on the air and they're not going to air it anymore, chances are they're going to send those other 500 back to you. So you have to be very, very sensitive about how many you ship in the first place. And there are different ways that you can handle that as well. So if they're buying your inventory, they own it now. So if they sell 500 of the 1,000 that they bought from you, the other 500 is theirs, meaning the TV shopping channel. They have to then either cut the price or put it on or liquidate it in different ways. So there are many different answers to what happens to the merchandise, but all of this is very clear up front, and you're very well aware of everything that's going to happen. Now, as I said earlier, a lot of people think that you've got to have 20,000, 25,000 of something in order to get on the TV shopping networks, and that's not the case anymore because they want item too. So I think everybody would be amazed at how little the inventory has to be in order to try it. But having said that, once it goes on and if it sells and if it hits, they are going to want a whole bunch as soon as possible. So you have to kind of be ready for that. You have to prepare yourself for that. But and all the .coms, all of the TV shopping channels, they have their own .coms, hsn.com, qvc.com, shophq.com. You can go to any of those .coms and find out what they're airing. But there are many products that are listed on the .coms that never make it to TV. Or they test it and they see what the response is going to be on the .com. And then if it does well, if it's received well and resonates with the viewers or with the customers, then they will put it on TV. So let's go through the path of a product. And I know, once again, a lot of information in a very short period of time. But the first thing you do is you meet with the buyer, you establish that price beforehand, you know what you're going to negotiate. with PriceWise. You meet with the buyer. The TV shopping channel makes the decision regarding your product. All right, they make that decision. So they may say right then and there, no, it's not really a fit, or they may say, let me take it to a committee, and then we'll decide if we want to do it. There are all different types of a process that they go through. But the TV shopping network, they are the ones that will make that final decision. Then, if they say, yes, we want your product, then that's when all the information needs to kick in and be sent. The product information, your support information, your videos that you're going to use, everything that you're going to use on the air, it has to go through QA in order for them to approve it. Once again, some products may have to go to legal. Usually they fall into what they call Category A products. Those are health-related products, medical-related products, products that you're making a claim on. Then the product is then assigned to the program grid. What the program grid is a program schedule. All the networks have schedules of when they're going to air something. Tuesday night might be jewelry at 8 o'clock, and then it might be watches at 9 o'clock or something like that. So your product will fit into their program schedule. They make that decision. The on-air guest, whomever you're going to use, it might be you, it might be somebody else that you want to use. No matter who it is, that person has to be approved. So you have to do a video beforehand and submit it to the TV shopping network, and they decide if they want that person to go on the air. What really works, by the way, just as a side note, because you might be thinking, well, I've never been on TV. That's okay. What the viewer really wants in an on-air guest is for that person to be real. And when you're real, you're not really super slick and super smooth, and that doesn't work. You need to be real. You need to be somebody that a viewer would like to sit down and have a cup of coffee with, so to speak. So don't rule yourself out, because one thing that is difficult to teach other people about your product is passion for your product. And passion really sells. So if you created your product, don't take yourself out of the running of going on the air, because you have a level of passion that other people can really not get. Then you go to the studio, you arrive at the studio, and then it's showtime. You go into makeup and everything, then you go on the air, and hopefully you sell a lot of the product. So that's basically, the path of how to get it on. Once again, I know it's general information. I'm sure you can understand why it needs to be general information. Because all the networks are a little bit different here and there. But John and I in the future, we can take you through it in a very specific way. But I want you to ask yourself, you're thinking about your product, your service, your business, your idea. You want to get it out there to the masses. If you didn't want to do that, you wouldn't be on the webinar. Just ask yourself, what have you done so far today, before this webinar? What have you done today to get you closer to where you want to be tomorrow? And I can just assure you, without a shadow of a doubt, that you could be in this industry. It could really happen to you if you know how to do it. And there's a certain way to do it, and we can certainly show you how to do that. I'm going to send it back to my good buddy John LeClaire. And John, come on back in here if you would, my friend.
Bob, thank you. Great presentation, as always. What a great training. And really, this is a privilege for all of us listening. Nobody has, as we mentioned before, no one has as much or more experience as Bob Circosta in getting products onto HSN or QVC or ShopHQ, and then maybe more importantly, how to sell them so well once you're there. So we want to offer each of you, no strings attached, a free product evaluation. A free product evaluation to see if your product might be right for HSN, for QVC, or for ShopHQ. So again, no strings attached on this one. But what I would invite you to do is if you can email us at products, and see the email address on the screen, products@harvestgrowth.com. So that's my company. That's our address where we analyze products to see what might be a good fit for HSN or QVC. What I would encourage you to do is when you send the email, send as much information as you have. You're probably all at different levels examples with your businesses. It may be just a description of your product. If you have a website, please send us a link to that and we can take a look at it. Any more information that will help us to basically help you to see if the product is appropriate for HSN, QVC, or ShopHQ. Your features and benefits of the product, describe how it works, what it does, a price point if you have it, again, if you're far enough along, at least a picture of the product or the prototype, or again, even if it's just a simple description of the product. We will give you a free evaluation. Our next step will be to set up a phone call directly with you, which we can set up and arrange all through email, and we'll walk you through recommendations. Okay, where do you go next? Is this product appropriate for HSN or QVC, or is it not? And if not, then we'll at least give our best recommendation on where to head next. But again, the first step we ask you to do for this free evaluation is to submit as much as you can information about your product, again, to the email address, products@harvestgrowth.com. Bob, thanks again. This has been phenomenally helpful.
My pleasure, John. And I just want to say to everybody out there, you know, you're not going to know until you try, all right? You're not going to know if you're sitting on that next $1 million idea, $1 million product or whatever until you try. And as John pointed out, no strings attached. We're looking for products. I mean, we every single day we get products on the TV shopping channels. And why can't it be your product? But you're never going to know until you email us. And we'll let you know. As John mentioned, if it's not a fit, we're not going to waste your time. We're not going to waste our time. And we're simply going to tell you it's not a fit. That doesn't mean it's a bad product, but it just doesn't fit in that particular medium. But you're never going to know until you try. So we invite you to get in touch. John, thank you very, very much for taking time out. And always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. And have a very pleasant evening, everybody.
Thank you, and we'll keep you on. I'll stay on here for another minute or two. If anyone has questions you want to put into the chat box, I can respond either audibly or type something in. We've got a couple questions on here. We'll do briefly. So Atanuke is asking, do you have a buyer for bottled water at HSN, and how do I meet one?
Sure. You need to get in touch. Don't we know Atanuke?
We do, absolutely. So
yeah.
Atanuke, we'll send you an email after this, and we can connect about that. Absolutely, we can talk more in depth because we do know your product. Absolutely. And Fred asked us, you know my product from when you and Bob made my infomercial. So we did do a video with Fred. Welcome, Fred. How are you? What do you think? So Fred, if I remember, is the fishing lure product, or not lure, but the depth finder. Is that right, Bob?
Oh yeah, I remember.
So again,
we need to hear back from him.
Absolutely. So Fred, again, send us a little bit of information. We've got your video. We can talk via email on next steps with as far as HSN or QVC is concerned. Mark says, thanks, John and Bob, for the great webinar. I'll plan to email you. Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate that. Fred's saying he's having a unit made now. That's great. Congratulations.
Right.
And then and Atanuki says thank you as well. So thanks again. Feel free to. We're going to end this training right now. So if you have any further questions, please email us at, again, products@harvestgrowth.com, and we can continue to answer questions. Or the best next step, of course, is to do an evaluation, and we'll see exactly how we can help you get, hopefully, your product to be the next big success on TV. So you can be, I had to bring a little prop, the next OxyClean. Start the way they did back in the day, and get your products on TV first, and then into retail, and then the sky's the limit from that point. Again, thanks again, Bob. Thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks everybody. Good night.